What's up, guys? I'm gonna be doing a little install today. If you're about the stance life, which I like to think I am, you might need to run some little spacers every once in a while. So I'm running a 10mm spacer on my car, and thought it'd be safe if I got some studs. So I got some ARP extended studs, and the fronts are pretty straightforward, so I figured that most people could probably figure that out because I found it out on my own. So the rears are a little more complicated, so today I'm just going to be showing pretty much how to do that. And basically you just have to remove the rear hub, and I'll just show you pretty much how to get to it and have some new studs in by the time we're all done. So the point of these is they're extended, obviously, so they're a little bit longer, about 10mm longer than the factory stud, which is perfect because that's what my spacer is that I'm running, is 10mm. So this will make up for the threads that I'm losing or missing out on now that I'm running the spacer. So I'll be nice and safe now with these new studs. So obviously after you jack your car up and take your wheel off, you're gonna see your rotor, and then the first thing that you have to do is get your brake caliper out of the way. So there is a 10mm bolt right here, and there's another one right there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and remove that real quick, and then I'll get my caliper out of the way. Luckily I can just swing my caliper over and set it on top of the sway bar, but you might have to tie it up. You don't want to be putting any pinches in your brake lines there, so make sure that your caliper's stable and out of the way. So now your rotor is ready to be pulled off, and if it's been a while, you might have to hit it with a hammer kind of around here and kind of break it loose. But I've just had mine off recently. As you can tell, I already got one stud out. So that should just slide off once you break it free. You just set it off to the side. And the next step will be getting this dust cover off. So pretty much just take a flathead and kind of get it. There's like a little groove right there in between where the hub is and the dust guard. So if you can pry in there and get this off, it's pretty much just like an axle nut. So I'm going to try and get started on that. Once you start, I had to start using a really small one, a small screwdriver, and I kind of busted the handle a little bit, so you might do that. But once you finally get in and split it up, you should be able to pry it out, and you'll have to keep spinning it and kind of pry. Ah, looky there.
There it is.
Takes a lot of persuasion, but it's finally off. So as you can see, look how nice this is. This is what you need your dust covers for. This is a nice bolt right here. So come over here a little closer. So now all we have to do is get a socket, and if you have a impact, it will probably be a lot easier. But I'm just gonna break this bolt loose, and once this comes off, we should be able to slide the whole hub out. So that's what we're on to. Shout out to Jay for filming, because this is way harder to do while you're filming by yourself.
Oh man.
Okay. Once you get this nut off, all you have to do is literally slide the hub off of the spindle. So now we're ready to take these out, which if you have a press, this would be really easy. I don't, so I'm gonna have to like pound all these out individually, which sucks, but I'll figure it out. So I'll do that and then we'll put it back together. So this isn't like the best way to do things, but if you don't have a press, this is not a bad option. So this is pretty solid. It's got this, it's got a housing around it, so it's solid. It's still holding up to me beating on it. So all you have to do is make sure that you put a lug nut on, because if you don't, if you just beat the end of these, they do what's called a mushroom. They'll flatten the threads and it'll like start to like flare out. So you don't want to do that, just in case you ever need these. So if you just leave your, if you get an old stud, make sure they're old, cheap ones, because it'll flatten them and they won't be good anymore. I mean, you can still use them, but they don't look very good. If you just get a hammer, put it on the ground, hold it with your opposite hand, and just hit them, then it'll do the trick. You'll get them out. That's all you really need, and obviously they're still threading on, so it's all good. Like I said, it's probably not the best way, but it's not hurting anything, and if you don't have a press, this isn't a bad thing to do. So just like that, we have all of the studs out. So this is where a press would really come in handy, because this is where it's kind of hard. Once you get your new studs in, what I'm doing right now, I'm just taking an old piece of wood and just kind of to where I can get the hub to set flat, but it's hanging down. And at this point, really all you're really needing to do is get this in far enough to where the lug nut's not going to spin on you, because once you put the hub back on and you tighten the lug nut from the outside of the wheel, like when you're putting your wheel on, you can use your leverage to pull and seat these all the way in, but basically we have to seat them just enough to where they're not going to spin, because if they start spinning, if they don't get in far enough, they could spin to where you can't get the lug off, and then you're pretty much shit out of luck, and it's going to be real hard to get your wheel off. I know, because I've experienced that. So make sure that these are at least seated enough to where you're not going to have any risk of spinning. So I'm just putting this on the edge here, and I'm doing my best to just beat the crap out of it pretty much. Like, you're not gonna hurt the head of these, and they're not gonna really get damaged. So just hit them as hard as you can, as much as you can, to get them seated. Which, it doesn't take a whole lot, but like, obviously you can tell that there's a gap there, but they're not really gonna spin on you. They're solid, because that's a lot of force still. So just try and make sure that they're seated, like I said, enough. I can't really stress it enough. Make sure they're seated to where they're not gonna spin on you. But right now, that's pretty much the only thing I have to be able to get the new studs back in. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue on doing that. Okay, so obviously now that I'm on to like my third and fourth one, I can't really use this anymore, because the other studs are getting in the way. So right now I'm just using the edge of the workbench. So I'm pretty much just setting it on the end and getting it like as close as I can. So I'm still using this lip, but I'm still being able to hit the stud and get it into place a little bit. So I thought that might be a little useful to tell you guys, because it's definitely helping me, I guess, because I'm just trying to figure this out. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I was able to get most of them pretty well seated. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap around them all, but these, like, I beat the crap out of them. They should be good. So all you have to do now, slide this back on the spindle, got those new beautiful ARP studs showing. Get my spacer on. All this work because of that tiny piece of aluminum right there. Slide her on. This is gonna be a struggle, don't laugh at me. Oh, I got lucky. Oh, that's so nice to see all that freaking stud showing. Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. I feel like I'm missing something because these are like sticking through so far. I'm like lost a little bit. Sometimes you need open-ended lugs if you're getting big enough studs. So luckily I have open-ended lugs. Oh, this is crazy. The ones up front don't stick out this much. I didn't think that they were gonna stick out like this. So yeah, there we have it. All you have to do is just like normal now. Tighten your lugs. I gotta find another one because one of mine stripped out, so from my old stud. So yeah, I'm gonna repeat that for the other side, but I hope that wasn't like too hard to follow along with. I know I talk a lot sometimes, but more information is better than less. So I hope this helped somebody out there. I know I had contemplated this for like a couple months because I didn't know how to do that. So I just figured it out, and yeah, now I finally have studs and I don't have to roll around with my lugs catching like 3 or 4 studs. Who knows? But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.